this week. It's gonna be a pretty light call. I almost forgot about myself. I was like, I gotta go. Okay, we're recording. I'll give it a couple of minutes and then if it does, it does. I'm going to start and people can watch the recording. Maybe hopefully they'll pop in as we go. How are you? Happy summer. The end of summer. This call is being recorded, but I always just make sure you guys know. This call is supposed to be about getting back into the routine of the fall, and how to have a balanced approach to that you can actually maintain for the long term. So, I feel like what ends up happening lots of times when a new season comes, whether it's like the new year or the new school season, people kind of tend to approach it with like gung-ho, 100% in, and it's not always, they kind of have lofty goals that they can't always necessarily keep, so I think it's important to be realistic about what you can do and maintain versus what like you want to do. Because what ends up happening is if you choose something that you can maintain, you can do that well for like say 2 or 3 weeks, and you can add to it and you can build upon it, as opposed to being like taking it all on and being able to manage it for maybe 2 or 3 days and then falling off because it's too much stress or too much change at once. And so I think it's about taking a deep look at yourself and what you really can manage. So that means maybe you can manage adding a juice to your day. Maybe that means you can manage, meal prepping your lunches for the week, or pick like 1 or 2 things, maybe after what we talk about today, that resonate with you. You can just apply right away and do those, and then do those for a few weeks. And then when that routine becomes habitual for you, pick something else and add on to it. And that's how you build like a healthy routine, in my experience. Welcome to you people coming. If you haven't been here before, my name is Lisa. I'm a nutritionist for our generation, and I host these calls once a month with our Juice Club members. Usually they're much fuller than this, but I think the first week of school, it's kind of a quiet week. So hopefully you guys can watch the recording after. And I'm talking about how to have a healthy routine for the fall. So what I usually do is I talk first for, however long it takes. And then I open the floor up for your questions and whatever you'd like to ask. And you can talk about anything you want relating to nutrition, relating to our products, general health and wellness, whatever I have knowledge about, happy to share with you. So let's start with the top 5 foods on the no list that you should try to stay away from all the time, but especially going into any kind of new routine. And they're probably things you had a lot of during the summertime, because we know how summer goes. You're having ice cream, you're going out for pizza, you're doing the things with your kids, your families, whatever. So it's hard to stay on any kind of a routine. So these 5 things I have found are definitely the most detrimental for health and also for weight. So whatever your issue is. First of all, I'm going to say processed foods is an overarching term, because all processed foods are junk. But there's certain ingredients within the processed foods that are especially harmful. So I want to hone in on those 5. The first being processed seed oils, so inflammatory seed oils. You may have heard about these. They're kind of they're gaining some popularity with some influencers online and things like that. But almost all, with very, very little exception, processed foods, even healthy, quote unquote, processed foods, contain seed oils in them. And that could look like cottonseed oil, sesame oil, sunflower oil is a really common one with the healthier crowd. Safflower oil, rapeseed oil, canola oil. All these oils are super, super inflammatory. They're so refined, and they're refined in with a very dangerous process behind them. They're therefore dangerous for your body. And it's my personal view, and the view of many experts out there, that these oils are responsible for a lot of our chronic disease in this country. So the way to avoid them, first of all, is to read your labels, which, I always talk about reading your labels. And even, like I said, even the healthy processed foods, like a healthy cracker, healthy cereal, a healthy bread, they're likely going to have a seed oil in them, and I would highly recommend staying as far away from them as possible. You also want to check things like your salad dressing, because almost every salad dressing out there is made from either soybean oil, vegetable oil, or some kind of a refined seed oil. And it's interesting because if you haven't been around here much, I developed a pretty severe soy allergy about 3.5 years ago. I never had a problem before, but I developed this allergy. And I eat salad all the time. So when I go to restaurants, I typically just order olive oil and I do lemon, and that's my dressing. Well, I know from having prepared meals for many years that a lot of olive oils are blended oils. They are blended with soybean oil or vegetable oil. And many, many restaurants use these blended oils because it looks and tastes similar to olive oil, like a cheaper quality olive oil, but it's much, much cheaper than pure extra virgin olive oil. So as I started going to restaurants and I would inquire because I can't have the soybean oil anymore. So I actually carry a little bottle of olive oil with me in my purse everywhere I go now. But because when I started going to all these restaurants, I only found two over the course of close to about 2.5 years at the time. I found two restaurants that actually had a pure straight extra virgin olive oil that it was not blended. So like that was majorly eye-opening to me. I mean, I knew it was in everything, but I never realized, like even in salads at restaurants and things, how, just straight olive oil would be a problem. I knew bottled dressings were a nightmare. I've done that for many years with the sugar and the corn syrup and the oils in them. It's hard to find a good bottle dressing on the shelf. So that was crazy to find out. And so the more I've learned, the more I've seen that they're just in everything. So there's a couple ways to avoid this. Number one, whatever you can make yourself, make yourself. If you have time to make a quick batch of crackers, believe it or not, it only takes about 30 minutes. If you have time to make your own dressing, you make a bottle and use it for a week or two. It's not that, the things, they might sound daunting, but they're really not a big deal to do. Like if you just do like a little bit, like tackle one thing a week, or source better ingredient products. Like there's a brand called Primal Kitchen. I'll talk about that a little bit later. That brand doesn't use any seed oils. They use olive oil or avocado oil. So there are some brands out there that now they use like tallow. They'll tell you right out that they don't use seed oil because it's becoming a thing. So you should make it a thing for yourself too if you can. Second is refined sugars. So that's I think everyone knows, refined sugar is not good for you, but they don't always realize all the places that refined sugar is and all the names that it could carry on a label that don't come out and say this is refined sugar, but they make it sound, healthy. Evaporated cane juice crystals, or invert syrup, or of course corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup. You probably know those. Dextrin, maltodextrin. There's a lot of different words that companies will use for sugar, but they are all bad. They're all just as processed as any refined sugar. And refined sugar is bad for numerous reasons. Number one, it's bleached. So to make it, and naturally sugar is brown. Like sugar cane is brown. They bleach it to make it white, and that bleach is carcinogenic, which means cancer causing. Refined sugar, your body doesn't recognize it as a food. So it ends up, it stores it as a toxin. It leads to insulin resistance and diabetes. It contributes to most major illnesses and of course obesity and weight gain. So there's really no place in any healthy diet for refined sugar or artificial sweeteners. And that, the answer to that is not to replace refined sugar with artificial sweeteners at all. I mean, given the choice of the two, you're better off with the refined sugar than you are with an artificial sweetener. Artificial sweeteners are just chemicals, like they're pure chemicals. So what I recommend looking for is natural sweeteners like honey, pure maple syrup, molasses, dates. We use dates in our smoothies. There are natural ways to sweeten things. You can even find things like date sugar, and it's just pure dates, like powderized into sugar. Coconut sugar. They're still sugar, but they're definitely less refined and less chemical laden, and so they're better options for you when you want to either bake at home or sweeten a coffee or something like that. Thirdly, and I think this also is pretty obvious and has gotten also a lot of traction, especially in the recent years with like Kellogg's, and I don't know if you follow the food babe online, but food dyes. So food dyes are in all kinds of places where you don't expect them, and in the places where you do expect them. Candy being the number one offender. Almost all candy is dyed. A lot of children's cereals have food dyes, which is crazy to me. That Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms and all this stuff that your kids eat before school, and it makes me, aggravated because in Europe, they don't allow those dyes. So if you look at a box of Fruit Loops for Europe versus a box of Fruit Loops for here, the colors are vastly different because theirs are colored with like beets and, I don't know what else. And ours are colored with red 40 and stuff, and these dyes are linked to all kinds of problems. I mean, aside from the obvious, which is like ADD and ADHD in children, they're also now linked to autism, to cancer, to autoimmune disorders. I mean, you can link them to pretty much any negative thing you can find. So I can't recommend enough staying away from food dyes and really reading your labels, like your sprinkles, your cake mixes, places. Just all I can tell you is expect the unexpected when it comes to ingredients, and always check a label before you buy something, because you're going to find a food dye in a place like a juice or a salad dressing and never expect to see that. I mean, I've seen cranberry juice, like a diet cranberry juice that had so many chemicals and food coloring, the dyes in it for a juice, a cranberry juice. People are thinking like, oh, it's a diet cranberry juice. This is good for me. So don't, you cannot trust marketing labeling from these companies. They're greenwash. Greenwashing means they make it sound healthy, but it's not healthy at all. If you really look in the weeds of it. So, they might label something gluten-free or fat-free or sugar-free. Most of the time when they're saying those things, they're hiding the fact that it's full of junk or chemicals. So it's really, really important to check your labels. Fourth is conventional dairy. So I'm not an anti-dairy person, but conventional dairy is full of really detrimental things for your health. So conventional livestock, for dairy and for meat are fed hormones. They're given vaccinations. They are given antibiotics, and those things stay in their bodies and they go into our bodies, secondarily. Not to mention the feed they're fed is usually GMO corn and soy feed. And they're usually not raised with the correct farming practices. So they're not usually free ranging. I say that because free range is a great greenwashing topic because, companies which will claim that something is free ranging, that means they have like a 2-by-2 foot little space they can walk in. So they're free range, but they're still fed junk and treated like crap, so you really have to be careful of marketing claims again with your dairy and your meat and stuff as well. I really recommend, the best of the best to find something local, a local farm, a local source for buying your eggs, your dairy, your butter, your meat. There's a great farm called Miller's Bio Farm in Pennsylvania. I love them, and I completely trust them. They're completely transparent with their farming practices. They are the best of the best that I've seen. But there are other companies that do the same, and they're also local farms. You can probably find, if you have farm country near you, you probably have local farms raising chickens and eggs and stuff. And most of the time, either they'll tell you their farming practices, or they have better farming practices than these bigger companies. Because just like, I don't want to say go buy an organic eggs in the store. I mean, they're better probably than the conventional eggs, but a lot of those companies, they greenwash. You can't always trust an organic egg to be better than a regular egg. It's better, but is it like healthy? I don't know if I would say it's healthy. So I've just come to the point now where I don't trust. I mean, I work in a job where we are extremely transparent and we are like strict about our marketing, about our labeling, because we hate this as a company when companies do this. But I have seen so much how it's really a rare thing to find. Other companies have those kind of standards like we have. So I pretty much don't trust anything I see in a store these days. And I try to order and shop as locally or farm to me as possible. So that's my best recommendation there. And the last thing on the list of 5 is GMO foods. And as I say every time, we could probably do a whole webinar just on genetically modified foods, because I know there's a lot of questions about that. But genetically engineered or modified foods, like crops, for example, they make up 93% of our crops now in this country. Organic crops are not allowed to be GMO. They're not allowed to be sprayed with glyphosate. They're not allowed to be fed GMO feed. However, there's always cross-contamination that happens. You can't avoid it unless you're growing your own food. But it's certainly less, and it is regulated for the most part. So, the only way to really guarantee that you're not getting GMO is to either buy organic or to buy GMO-free foods. And there's like a little label, it's like a little butterfly that'll tell you you're non-GMO. Like, we source all non-GMO. We're super crazy about that. We're not organic, but we are all non-GMO. And so you can find companies that will definitely, at the very least, source non-GMO, and they should tell you that. So before I go on, this took longer than I thought. Any questions about those? Okay. So that leads into the top 3 foods on the yes list that you should try to include every day for a healthy routine for the fall and forever. I mean, you probably are going to be able to guess what these things are because I talk about them often enough. First, dark leafy greens. And I know they're not the easiest thing for people to eat, which is why we have green juices and smoothies, right? So prior to working at Raw Generation, I taught all my nutrition clients how to make delicious green smoothies. It was a staple in everyone's regimen. They still make them to this day when I see them for the most part, and I still make them almost every day for myself. So you can either make your own green smoothies, or you can buy or make green juices for yourself. I will tell you that juicing is much more expensive and time consuming than making smoothies. That's why I used to always recommend smoothies to my customers, my clients. Um, but if you're here, you're a customer of our generation, then you already know the benefit of having fresh juice delivered to you frozen. So that's actually how this company was founded. Bill, our CEO, wanted to have more green juice and was frustrated that he had to always make it. And there was no company at that time making and raw juice and freezing it and sending it. So that's how we started in his garage. I was there when it happened. So he started making green juices in his garage and shipping it frozen to people so we could keep it raw and unpasteurized, which is something I had taught him about as my client. And that's how Regeneration started. So we are like, our backbone is green juice. That's why we have so many. And that, if you can only take one thing that I say out of everything today, keeping that habit of one green juice or smoothie a day, it's life changing. That chlorophyll is life changing. It detoxifies your body. It gives you the best sources of iron, protein, and calcium you can get from any plants. It's good for your liver, your kidneys. It's good for your skin. It's good for, geez, you name it. Like, greens are good for everything. So, and they're a hard thing to eat enough of. People don't typically make big enough salads or chew them well enough to get the benefit. So it's important to have them blended or juiced so your cells can really quickly absorb the nutrients in them. 2 on the list is fruit. So you probably know how I feel if you've been here before about fruit. It's like a villainized food in this society, and it should not be. To me, it's one of the most important things you can eat. I structure my day to be 80 to 90% of fruit pretty much every day. Not saying you have to go that crazy, but fruit is a healing food for our bodies. And you can't really overdo it when you eat it properly. It's a great source of hydration, natural carbohydrates, of natural sugar. And those are the things our bodies need to thrive. So regardless of what you've been told about, staying away from sugars and carbs, it's not the same as fruit sugar and not the same as fruit carbs. And those foods should be a regular part of your lifestyle. And that leads to my number 3, which is carbs. So I don't mean carbs like bread. I mean carbs like healthy carbs, vegetables, fruits, and whole grains, and potatoes. Those are the ones that we stick around with, and some beans over here. And potatoes, don't be afraid of them. I've said this before too, if you've been here. Potatoes are one of the best weight loss foods out there. They're satiating. They're super healthy. They're high in fiber. They're high in vitamins and minerals. And you can have them every single day if you cook them properly, not in oil, but cooked, like just baked, dry roasted, air fried, plain boiled, not with fat added. You can add salt and spice and stuff, but no fat added to them. You literally can have as many as you want every day. And I challenge you to try it. You'll see the weight fall off and you'll feel satiated. Like, it's a great lunch food. Questions about that? All right, moving right along. Options for breakfasts, lunches, and dinners on a healthy routine. I'm going to model what I say after what I teach in the Skinny Method. That's one of our products at Regeneration. I created the Skinny Method after I joined the team because I felt like when people would cleanse, they would lose weight, they would detox, they would start to feel better. And then what would they do after? And I felt like it was lacking. And so I wanted to create a system where we could provide some of the flavors. Some of the work would be done for a busy person, but that really taught people how to eat healthy, how to make a long-term healthy routine sustainable. And so basically what I did was I took exactly what I teach my clients when I taught them for 20 something years. If I was in a one-on-one appointment with you, I basically put that into the Skinny Method and made that into a plan. And so it's what I've lived by personally for well over 20 years and what I have taught my clients for over 20 years. And so now it's this plan for you guys. So that includes having a light breakfast, basically what is eating light to heavy. You've heard me say this before. Light meaning low fat, water rich, light foods, and saving your heavy foods, your fats and your proteins, which you should definitely have every day, but saving them for later in the day. And that leads to better digestion, no bloating, and better weight loss. And also keeps you from improperly combining foods, because food combining is kind of complicated if you get into the weeds with it too much. But when you nail it, first of all, it can often reverse things like IBS, depending on how bad that might be for you. And it always takes away. I mean, I've told you guys a story before. When I was younger, before I knew anything about food combining, I could be so bloated sometimes that I looked pregnant. And I actually had 2 different sizes of jeans. And I would never know how to wake up in the morning because I didn't know what was causing it at the time. And so I would like go away for a week and have to bring 2 sizes of clothes with me because I didn't know what would fit me. So, and looking back, it was totally just improperly combining foods. And that this system teaches you to do that without having to tell you all the rules. It automatically does it for you by just following the few guidelines that I give you without you having to like remember what can go with what and what can't go with what. So breakfast should be light. I recommend fruit is the best breakfast. Green juices, smoothies, or fruits are the best breakfast. And I don't mean our smoothies that we sell in this situation. I mean, if you're making smoothies at home, and fruit smoothies being just like fruit, greens, and water. Basically, you don't want to have fat in the morning. So as light and water rich as possible. The more green juices and fruits, the better for breakfast. You can't overdo it. You can have a whole cantaloupe. You could have 5 bananas. You could have whatever you want. Literally, you can't overdo it. Then lunch should also be on the lighter side. You can incorporate some other foods there as well. You know, it can again be more fruit if you want more fruit or juice, but it could also include things like vegetables. Again, not cooked in oil, so steamed, baked, dry roasted vegetables, rice, quinoa, potatoes. You can make hummus. I have a no oil hummus recipe in that plan, which is like awesome to have with vegetables as a snack or on a salad as a dressing. You can have salads with an oil-free dressing, bean soup, lentil soup, vegetable soup. Those are great lunch options. So really no shortage of options there. And then at dinner time, that's when you would incorporate your heavier fats and proteins. So like your lean protein, your chicken, your turkey, if you're going to have beef, whatever, it's fish. If you want to have eggs, it's a good time to have that at dinner or like later at the afternoon time. If you're going to have dairy, so if it's cheese and stuff, that would be again at dinner time. And I recommend making it a kind of a balanced plate. So, ideally 50% vegetables, 25% carbs, healthy carbs, and 25% protein of some kind. But depending on your workout, if you work out a lot, maybe you want to do 50% protein and 25, you can figure out your macros based on how much you need. But a clean dinner. And that is a recipe for success that most people can stick with. It leaves you the room to eat out. You can eat lunches out, you can eat dinners out. It leaves you the room to have desserts and to have snacks. Those very simple like guidelines really make a big difference. And it also has you eating like a pretty raw day, like having a lot of raw fruits and vegetables in your day. And the raw foods are like life foods. Those are what keep your immunity up, your energy up, keeps your skin clear, helps your hormones stay balanced. And that's like the key to like success, is keeping those foods high in your diet. I think most of you know that I eat an almost all raw diet, and I have for 2 decades. I eat very little cooked food. So, it worked for me. I haven't been to a doctor in like 18 years. So I hope it stays that way. So that's that. Before I go on to the last sections, any questions? Okay. Healthy swaps. So with the skinny method and also with the protein method, any methods that we offer, I give you guys a guide that I used to give my clients, which is like a healthy swaps for your kitchen, your pantry, your fridge. And I take very specific ingredients and kind of tell you like a ketchup where you can swap it for, or like a butter where you can swap it for. So I'm going to go over a few of them here. But if you have ever been part of those plans, you have access to those, or if you ever want to, you have access to those as well. So dairy, milk, butter. I recommend organic, grass-fed. Like I said, local if you can get it. Same with eggs. Creamer. That's like a really common thing I find when I go to people's homes and they have me look in their cabinets or their refrigerators and they have like coffee creamer, like Coffee Mate or something. Those are a nightmare. They're as fake as you can get. I know they taste good, and it's just everything in them is bad for you. So you're way better off like using some real cream or milk and some honey or maple syrup and putting that in your coffee. It might be a little bit used to it, but trust me, it's a worthy switch for your health. I talked about oils. The best oil you can use is extra virgin, cold pressed extra virgin olive oil in a dark glass jar that you keep in a cool place. I would never ever buy it in plastic. And I would be careful how you source it, because a lot of olive oils now are tainted with vegetable oils. And, you can kind of, to me, you can kind of tell when like olive oil is cheaper and made in a cheaper way. It's a place where you don't want to skimp. So I would say, make sure you get an imported, like I said, glass bottle that has a story of where their ingredients come from. You can find it. It's more pricey. It's worth the price. Salt. You can definitely eat salt, but not regular table salt. I don't recommend ever having that. The best salt that I've found is Redmond real salt. I use it all the time. I love it. Another one is Himalayan pink salt. You can also use Celtic salt. Those are the three that I kind of rotate between, but my favorite is Redmond real salt. It comes from Utah. It's delicious, and it's full of minerals that regular salt lacks. It does not have any of the anti-caking agents that are in typical table salt, and those anti-caking agents that make it flow easily also cause cancer. So I want to stay away from those. Condiments like ketchup, mayonnaise, dressing, you can certainly make your own. They're not that hard to make. None of them are hard to make, but a brand I trust is Primal Kitchen. They have good condiments with clean ingredients. Bragg's also makes an apple cider vinaigrette that's raw and clean. Aside from those few, I don't really know of many others that are clean. There might be some in the market now that I'm not privy to because I don't buy those foods really, but I typically, if I want to use them, I make them. But those are the ones that I know of for sure. Peanut butter, another big offender. People eat peanut butter because it's healthy, but pretty much all traditional peanut butters are full of hydrogenated fats and sugars. So if you're like a Jif or Skippy peanut pan kind of person, throw it in the trash and look for a brand that is clean. I love Trader Joe's. I love Maranatha. I love quite a few brands. Some of them you have to stir, which I know some people are anti-stirring. There's a couple ways around this. Number one, if you have a brand new bottle, you can put it upside down before you open it, and it will automatically kind of emulsify for you and stir. If you want to stir it yourself, stir it once and then keep it in the fridge. And if you store it in the fridge, it usually does not separate again. Usually it'll stay. If you keep it out, you don't usually have to refrigerate. You keep it in a cabinet, but then it will reseparate and remix it. The fridge usually stays solid. So check your peanut butter labels and switch to a natural, definitely organic peanut butter. Peanuts are super high pesticide foods. They're one of the dirty ones. So that's a place where I would definitely put my money towards organic. Last section is like the pastas, the chips, the popcorn, candy. You want to have a real life, right? And have these foods. So there's definitely versions that are better than the bad. So are any of them perfect? Probably not, but they're close. So I know Trader Joe's, for example, has a brand of tortilla chips that are just no salt or no oil. And I think they also have ones that have like expeller pressed oil in them. You have to read the labels. They have some things like that there. There are now masa tallow chips that are pretty clean. And I think Lesser Evil chips use avocado oil, which is better, not the best, but better. Same goes for popcorn. I actually make my own popcorn when my nieces and nephews come over. I make it for them pretty much every day they come. I just take a pot and I put extra virgin olive oil on the bottom. Doesn't take a lot. And I get the organic kernels from wherever I'm at. And I pour them in and pop it with a lid on it. And it's delicious. I put Redmond's real salt on it. I shake it up. They love it. And it's better than any bag of popcorn I've ever had. So it's an easy, quick swap to make. It's super healthy. For candy and stuff like that, I've never been a chocolate eater. And so I know that's a really, really hard craving to overcome for people that love chocolate. So I'm probably not the best person to speak to that. However, I have had more than one person tell me that medjool dates really help them with chocolate cravings. I love dates. I don't have any affinity towards chocolate, like I said, so I can't speak to it personally, but it might be worth a try for you to try medjool dates when you're craving chocolate. And maybe you'll be able to, it's interesting because dates actually help a lot of the same things. The chocolate, when you're stressed and you want chocolate, if you're hormonal, your hormones are shifting, chocolate is what you crave. Dates actually repair, they are so good for the female reproductive system. So it's kind of interesting that they kind of could help the things you crave during that time of the month, but they actually are beneficial to you when you have the dates. So something to think about there. And lastly, sodas. Olipop's a common soda replacement brand. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's better than that. Seltzer is really your best bet. And I love taking seltzer and putting some of our juice in it. For the kids, I'll put some Cool Greens with some plain seltzer. They love that. I think it's like Sprite, so those are my ideas. Okay, so I think I covered the entire list. This was a long list today of topics from my email. If I missed something, let me know. Oh, I did. Meal prep. I said this to you guys before. Don't make meal prep harder than it has to be. Like I said in the beginning, you will not stick with an approach if you don't make it something you can actually do. So don't make lofty goals for yourself. Don't say, I'm going to start meal prepping all my meals, and it won't stick. It'll stick for a week or two and you'll get sick of it and you won't be able to maintain it because your life's too busy, which we're people, that's how it goes. Pick a couple things to do, pick a couple hours, maybe on a Sunday evening when it's quieter, whenever you have time in your week, and just do a few staple things that literally take no more than 2 hours. That's putting some big potatoes in the oven so that they bake, maybe take 10 of them, put them in for the week. Sweet potatoes, maybe make one kind of grain, whether it's quinoa or rice in a big pot, so you had that to grab during the week. If you have time, maybe make one pot of simple soup. All the soup recipes that I have that I give you guys in different programs are like 20 minutes and less to make. They're super easy and they freeze well, so you can put them in containers and have them. Maybe you want to make some hard-boiled eggs. Maybe you want to cut up your fruits and veggies, wash them and cut them and just put them in containers. You can do that while the stuff's cooking on the stove, and then it's kind of one big cook, one big cleanup, and you're done. Those few little things make you grab better foods, because if you don't have them, you're going to grab junk. I'm sure you've all been there before. If you don't have healthy things in the house to grab, you grab something junky because you're starving, you're busy, you're running kids to practice, you're doing all those things, and you didn't think to plan for yourself because you planned for your kids. That's what we do as women. So if you don't have things around that you can just easily grab, like a hard-boiled egg or an orange or something, you're going to grab, I don't know, leftover mac and cheese or chocolate or something. So simple meal prep. Don't over plan. Just do what you actually can stick with on a weekly basis. Like take a deep look at yourself and your schedule and say, what can I count on having time-wise every week? And if it's 30 minutes a week, then you plan what you can do in 30 minutes. If it's 2 hours, then you plan what you can do in 2 hours. And maybe it's something you do in tandem with your husband if you're married, or maybe something you do with your kids along with you so they help you and they see the healthy foods too. Maybe you make it a project that you do together. I don't know, however it works for your life, but don't overplan. Those are all my talking points. I feel like I was talking fast and I was on a roll. So hopefully you understood everything. No one stopped me, but you can also rewatch the recording if you missed anything. And we still have like 25 minutes left. So I know we're a small crew today. But if you have questions, whether about it's something that I spoke about today, about our products, about health and wellness, nutrition in general, floor is yours if you want to talk. So it's all you guys. Quiet group today.
Hi, it's Stacy.
Hi, Stacy. How you doing?
Hi, good. I just wanted to thank you for holding these meetings, whatever the size, because it's, as many times you're kind of like a parent, as many times as you hear it, you need to hear it again. Just gentle reminders of where you can fix what you're doing, because I think I struggle with the light to heavy because by lunchtime I'm starving. And I just want something like, in my mind, substantial means like something with oil, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, part of that problem though is really not having options available. So not really staying on the meal prep. So that was just a good reminder to focus on that again. And I think the other issue I have is, like the all or none mentality, like I keep thinking, okay, I'm never going to have, once I start, I'm never having cake again or whatever. And, or I can't have it in the house, and I've got two boys that eat a lot and want this stuff. So it's like, I was always really disciplined and good, but in the past, maybe couple of years, I'm just like going, I'm tired. I'm going to, enjoy it. And then
Yeah.
of course I feel worse, but so yeah, I guess I think you told me to kind of write down what I'm eating
Oh, yeah.
and just really take a look at. It's easy to forget where you're grabbing snacks and
Right. It just adds up. You don't even realize it.
yeah. So I guess I struggle with a little bit with the light to heavy, and then just having things around that are so tempting.
Yeah.
My
Well,
willpower isn't what it used to be, basically.
well, the tireder you get, I feel like the willpower gets.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the light to heavy for a second, because I might be able to help you there. When you have like your morning foods, like what do you typically have?
I'm really good with that. I always have a green juice. And so that's the first thing I have. And I don't usually have that until after a class of some kind. I teach yoga. So usually, like after I teach, I'll start with that.
Okay.
And then I'll have like a bowl of fruit.
When you say
Um,
bowl of fruit, give me an idea of how much fruit is in there, like how many pieces.
oh, as much as I want. You're very like, oh, eat as much fruit as you want. So I just like eat until I don't feel like eating anymore. I make a giant thing of it every week.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. But then it's like 30 minutes, an hour goes by and I'm like hungry. And I've done the dressing, I've done the hummus, the oil-free dressing and the hummus, and I just sort of keep, I get past that and I'm ready for, I guess it's probably more emotional eating, maybe.
Sure. That's everyone. And I kind
Yeah.
of feel like this is just I'm not speaking to you specifically, but this is my experience in the past when I talk to people when they first start to light the heavy or they're trying to light the heavy and they're not feeling satiated. What I find is that most people think they're having what they term to be a lot, but to me, it would not be considered a lot. The fact that you're getting hungry half an hour after you're eating it tells me that you might be having a big bowl, but like to me, that would hold me over for half an hour. So a lot to me would be like if I made a smoothie, for example, and I put 6 bananas in it and I put two
Yeah.
oranges in it, and I'm actually getting 600 or 800 calories. So granted, it's not the kind of like satiating calories like oil does or like fat does, but it does help you stay fuller longer. And it helps the cravings later on in the day to be less for carbs and things. And then I think a key, it sounds like for you, a key might be to keep those whole carbs as a lunch staple for you because that will help you feel satiated, like whether it's quinoa or rice or potatoes,
Right.
having that along with some hummus and veggies or something. I think that does it for me. I know I have days when I'm like, I definitely have different kinds of days. I think all women do as we're cyclical, but when I'm very, very hungry and I don't want a lot of fruit and I also saw that those days I might start my day like with like a juice and then I might just go right to my protein and like our fat sources and I have that like at lunch, which I typically don't ever do. But if I do that, I stick with that. I don't go back, or I'll eat like, I'll eat lighter foods with it. Like I'll have my greens or my vegetables with it. But sometimes I might want like a hard-boiled egg at lunchtime. And that's not really how I typically eat. 9 times out of 10, I don't touch that stuff till dinner times. I don't want it. But if the day when I want it, I kind of plan going forward that I'll have like a lighter dinner than in that situation. I won't have a
Right.
heavy then. You know what I mean? So for
Yes.
you, it sounds like I feel like you need to find other options, maybe besides the big fruit salad you're making, which sounds great. That you might like. I know for me, what happened after a while of eating this way, I started to crave just having like whatever was in season and a lot of it. So like right now, nectarines and mangoes are amazing. So I had like right before this call, I had about 6 nectarines. I just that my canter after I ate them, I came back for this call. And that will keep me going for a while. And then I won't be sick of fruit by that point because I didn't have like enough to make me sick of it. And I only have one kind. So I might have 2 or 3 mangoes like later. And then like, so you know what I mean? So it's a little bit, that just intuitively happened as I did this more and more. And then I learned other people did the same thing as they eat like me more and more. So like a fruit salad to me is fine. It just never satiates me the same as like, I love room temperature fruit. I love that because I eat a lot more of it that way. That's just me. And I love when it's in season and another example is like bananas. They might not be in season, but they're really satiating. So if I'm making smoothies, I never make them without lots of bananas in them and they keep you full a long time too, especially if you're doing like exercise before your body needs even more carbs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So those are just a couple little pointers that might help you.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, like, quite honestly, as of late, slipping up doesn't mean, oh, I had a hard boiled egg for lunch. It's like, not healthy options. So
Do you
it
feel like you normally go with sweet stuff or salty stuff when you're going with them?
both.
Both.
Yeah. And I know your philosophy of the greens and it's likely very true. I don't know. I never had cravings my whole life, through pregnancies and stuff. But as of late, I feel like I struggle more with just like cravings, dairy and
How,
sugar and
can I ask how old you are, Stacy?
51.
Okay, so I mean, you're definitely in a phase of life where your hormones are shifting, or
Hmm.
maybe they have shifted, but they're definitely not resettled. I'm noticing it in myself at 42. I'm noticing changes already, and it's definitely changing how I eat sometimes and the things that my body craves. And I find that sometimes I crave more of these fats or dairies or things, and I think it must be things that our bodies need, that our hormones
Right.
need. So I don't think you should like deprive yourself of those things, but I think if you can train yourself to have them, like I said, certain times of the day or not with the other foods, it's helpful. Or find those really high quality versions. Like, I mean, if you can find a nice like raw milk cheddar cheese or something, you can have more of that than you could have of a crappy one,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it won't affect your body the same way. Your body will be able to digest it better, you
Right.
know. Um, so, and it's, I think, and cravings come from lots of places. They can come from stress. They can come from nutrient deficiency. It sounds to me like it's probably a mix for you of hormonal shifting and probably a little bit of calorie deficit early in the day. That's just my guess. Um,
Mm-hmm.
probably needing more calories from the right places earlier. Maybe you need to, the green juice that you're having every day is awesome, but maybe you need to know a little bit more green than that for right
Yeah.
now in
Okay.
your life, or maybe you even need more fruit than that in this phase of your life to get you through,
Right. Okay.
you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Um, anything else the rest of you guys want to talk about before we sign off here?
Stacy again. Sorry, just thought of something.
Well, the floor's yours.
Yeah. Tomatoes. I always thought that they were inflammatory. I just wondered if, and then I looked it up the other day and it said it was a mix. Like there's no. I was just wondering what your opinion was on, because this time of year, I'm eating a ton of them.
Yeah, there is definitely a school of thought that call tomatoes what's called a nightshade, and people that have inflammatory diseases like arthritis and things, some people will stay away from them. I have personally never found that to be true. And from what I know and what I've learned, tomatoes, along with all raw foods, are alkaline and anti-inflammatory. When you cook them, different story. They become acidic and they become inflammatory. So if tomato sauce is a different story than a raw tomato. It should be ripe, because if it's an unripe tomato, it will be acidic and it'll work in your body like acidic food does, and you want it to be alkaline. But if it's a ripe tomato, like on your counter from the garden or something, you can't overdo those either. That's just like a fruit. That's not, to my learnings in life, that's not considered an inflammatory food.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The rest of you have anything else you wanted to talk about? You can talk about successes you've had or struggles or questions. We're about a month away, I think, from the newest. I think I told you guys about it last month, the Detox Method product coming out. Pretty excited about that. Stacy, that might be cool for you to try, actually, because it's heavy on the greens. Maybe for a week and see how your body responds to that when it comes out. It's meant to be to come after our green cleanse, but it also can be a plan all by itself. It's going to be like the other methods where it has the guides. And it's like a kind of a lifestyle plan. So, but heavy on the greens, which is cool. So, well, if no one else has anything, I can close a little early. You can always certainly email me with questions. Oh, Stacy, did you mean to raise your hand?
I'm so sorry. That was a mistake.
Oh, no, it's okay.
There's always one annoying person on the call, and today I guess
No,
it's
get out of
me.
here. You meant usually the people that ask the questions are the ones that start the conversations with everyone else. They get like unnervous to ask them. So I'm always grateful when there's people that have questions. I never know how much to plan for these calls. So sometimes they can go over time with people's questions. And sometimes, we're a small group and I could have talked longer about other things, but it's hard to know what you're going to get. I figured this would be a lighter week because of school and stuff starting, but I'm going to be starting to do, I don't know if any of you are on Instagram, but I'm going to be starting to do 1 to 2 Instagram lives every week as well. Just quick here and there. Usually probably Mondays and the second day during the week, maybe Wednesdays. I'm not sure. So this will be another place where you can on a weekly basis get support if you need it, if you don't want to wait for these monthly calls. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great month. As always, you can email me if you need to, Testa@rawgeneration.com. If you have questions or if you have suggestions for a topic for next month, I always love to hear the feedback. I do get some good ideas sometimes from you guys. And otherwise, I will see you. These calls are always the first Wednesday, almost always, the first Wednesday of the month. You should be getting a text and an email every month to give you the links for those. And if you don't, I always like to hear about that because we had some problems in the past. I think they're all worked out now. And that's about it. So I'll see you. I think it's October, maybe October 1st. I can't remember the date in October. The first Wednesday in October. I will see you guys then. So, have a good one, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.